Hi everyone, it's Rachel here and welcome to this new episode of the Ditch the Diet podcast. This is just a really brief episode today because I've been having lots of trouble recording podcasts over the last couple of weeks. I've been having problems with my internet connection. I've been having problems with Skype when interviewing people, and for some reason there's just been lots of difficulties. So the episode that was supposed to go out today, I can't put it out yet because it's not been fully recorded, but do not fear, we will be back to our regular interview episodes very, very soon. But actually, in a way, it's a good thing because it's given me the opportunity to sit back and record this brief episode that I wanted to do, that's been on the back burner for a while, and it's just a little sort of personal story type episode. So I thought I would chat to you a little bit about something that I have changed in my life recently. It's been quite a big change over the past 12 months, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about what I've learned from that experience and also why it's not really working for me at this point anymore. But before I do that, if this is the first time that you've ever listened to the Ditch the Diet podcast, this is not a regular sort of episode. This is a bit of a sort of impromptu. Rachael sat down at the computer, switched the microphone on and started talking kind of episode. So to get a better feel for the Ditch the Diet podcast, it would probably be better that you listen to one of the back episodes after you finish listening to this one. We have over 70 previous episodes now, and they are all designed to help you cut through the bullshit of what is the dieting world and find out the truth about everything when it comes to losing weight, maintaining good health, and just improving your health through improving your lifestyle. So we've got loads there. If you're a regular listener, thank you very much for coming back and listening to another episode. I very much appreciate it. And if you aren't already subscribed, then please hit the subscribe button. I want to get this podcast out to as many people as possible, and the more people who subscribe, the more chance there is of that happening. So, I wanted to talk about something that's fairly relevant at the moment because there's a lot of media, a lot of news, a lot of sensationalized headlines around the area of plant-based nutrition or vegan nutrition, or just cutting out animal products from your diet. Now, every other day there is another headline that comes out, and it contradicts the one that came out the day before. So things like eating a plant-based diet is going to completely solve all of your problems, cutting out meat is the way forward, and then you have other headlines that say vegan diets are going to cause cognitive decline in the long term, and all of these studies that are being cited saying this and that, and one thing saying one thing and the other thing saying the other thing, and it's like, who are you supposed to believe? It's a little bit like the diet industry. Like, one person tells you that you've got to do this in order to lose weight, and someone else tells you something else, and it's like, who are you supposed to believe? Well, about a year ago, I decided to cut out eating meat because of animal welfare sort of beliefs and issues. And it wasn't like an overnight thing for me. I just kind of phased it out slowly, stopped eating meat, then stopped eating fish, then stopped eating eggs. And I don't actually eat dairy anyway because dairy really upsets my stomach. So I've not really eaten that for probably close to about 6 or 7 years now anyway. So that wasn't a big part of my life. And I didn't find it hard at all. I found it fairly easy, but I guess that's because I am quite confident in the kitchen. I like to cook. I like to experiment with new recipes and food combinations and all sorts. And got really, really into it and didn't really think anything else of it, I suppose, other than I just didn't eat meat anymore, and that suited me fine. Now, for those of you that know me that are listening, you'll know that I'm quite an all or nothing type person. Like, if I'm going to do something, I'm doing it, and there's just no holding me back, and I'll do it 100%. That's why I used to be so good at dieting back in my dieting days, because I was a good dieter. Like, if there was a plan of action, if there were rules for me to follow, then I would follow them to the letter, and that's why I was so good at dieting. And I'm not saying that, you know, being vegetarian or vegan or eating a more plant-based diet is a diet. It's, you know, everyone has a choice to make of whether they eat food, or not. No, that's not a choice, by the way, that's a necessity. But you have a choice as to what type of food you eat and whether you include meat and animal products in your diet or not, and that's absolutely fine. So that was about a year ago. And then when you become vegetarian, you sort of take on this new identity. You are a vegetarian, you do not eat meat, your friends get to know that you don't eat meat. You know, I'm lucky to have some really close friends that, you know, took the mickey out of me in the beginning, but, you know, they're close enough friends to know that they're just ripping the piss, they're not actually being horrible. But what was really difficult for me was a year down the line, and this is just a couple of weeks ago really, what was really difficult for me was that I was starting to feel like I really missed eating certain things, really missed eating fish, and there were times where I would be craving to eat meat, like really craving it, and eventually these thoughts and feelings of being on a strict diet started to come back. And like these self-imposed rules of, you are now vegetarian, you do not eat meat, and you can never eat meat ever again, came into my mind. And, you know, all of these things of, well, what will other people think if you start to go back to eat meat, and all of these things, and you've failed your diet, and it's ridiculous when I think about it. I think these are silly things to think. Like, if you want to eat meat again, then you just go and eat meat again. It's not that big a deal. And I also was struggling with some like really low energy. I was feeling tired, really tired all the time. I had some blood tests done which showed that I was deficient in a few things. And, you know, being a nutritionist, I can, hand on heart, say that I really do know what I'm doing when it comes to diet. And I do know how to make sure I'm getting the right, like, minerals, vitamins and minerals, even though I wasn't eating any animal products. So, but there was just something in the back of my mind, and it was going, nah. This is just like, I really want to have some form of animal products again. So I started eating fish a few weeks ago. And I realised how much that I really missed it. And then a few weeks after that, I had some meat for the first time in about a year and really enjoyed it. And genuinely didn't think that I would ever eat meat again. Like, just a few months ago, I thought, I've made the right decision here. I definitely won't eat animal products again. But now, a few months down the line, things have changed again, and now I am eating some animal products again. And for me, it wasn't even really the eating animal products again, or, you know, breaking my vegetarianism that was the issue. I was more like, I was dealing with feelings of failure. Like, for God's sake, you failed at this. Which is ridiculous, really, because it's what I teach other people not to do and how people not to think. But there I was, thinking it and feeling it. So I had all those things sort of come up. for me. But I'm pretty good at self-reflection, and luckily I've got some really, really lovely people around me who just kind of get me really well, which I think is important. Saying, you have to do what's best for you. And then getting diagnosed with these sort of vitamin deficiencies and things, I just decided, I'm just going to go with my gut feeling here, pardon the pun, and I'm going to have some meat. And so I did, and here I am, no longer vegetarian. I can't use that label anymore, because I probably, instead of eating meat every single day like I used to, I probably have it once a fortnight, if that, and really enjoy it, and just source the meat from the best places that I possibly can. And that's what I've chosen to do. But the reason that I wanted to tell you this today isn't to try and convert vegetarians that are listening or vegans that are listening to eating meat. It's got absolutely nothing to do with that whatsoever. What I wanted to try and get across was that if something's not working for you, you can absolutely change the way that you do things. And just because you are choosing to do something a certain way at the moment doesn't mean that you can't hold your hands up and say, this isn't working for me, and I need to do something different, or I need to change this. And this can be, this is not just diet related, this can be applied to absolutely anything in your whole life. So if your job is making you miserable, your relationship, where you live, anything really. If there's this niggling feeling in the back of your mind that something's just not quite right for you, but you're scared to make the change, or you're scared to go back, or you're scared to quit something because it might be seen as being a failure, or perhaps you're actually internally in your head already feeling like a bit of a failure because you've already failed, but you've just not come out and said it yet. Then what I would say to you is this, look back at the journey that you've had, whatever it is that you feel like you failed at, and think about all of the things that it has taught you along the way. Now, for me, I am so grateful that I decided to have a year as a vegetarian, because it has really educated me so much more on how to eat more vegetables and more plant-based foods. And yes, we know now from the research that eating more fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, whole grains, all of these things is healthy for us. But putting it into practice when you're a meat and two veg kind of person, it can be quite difficult without it becoming really boring. So I'm really pleased that I learned to sort of improve my repertoire of vegetarian meals, because before that I really didn't have a clue. I was really just flying by the seat of my pants. And it's also given me an insight to what it's like to be a vegan or a vegetarian when it comes to food choices, because a lot of people that I work with, a lot of members of the Ditch the Diet Academy, a lot of my one-to-one sort of coaching clients are vegetarians, and it gives me more knowledge and more power to be able to help people who choose that as their dietary choice. So for me, it has vastly improved things for me, and I've lost a couple of kilos, not through, I haven't been trying to lose weight. And I do generally feel like I've learned a lot over the past year. It was never meant to be an experiment. It was just a natural progression. But I've learned a lot. So what I would encourage you to think is, right, okay, well, maybe I feel like I'm feeling at this right now. Maybe I feel like it's the end for this, or maybe I need to change something, but I'm scared to do it because of XYZ. Like maybe you're worried about what other people will think or how other people will react. Maybe you're scared because you don't know what's on the other side of this decision. Maybe there's some fear there. Maybe you're scared to feel like a failure. I've experienced that so many times in my life. I have changed what I'm doing so many times. Like I have tried things, I have totally screwed them up over and over and over again. Like loads of times you would not believe. the amount of times that I've fucked things up. But 2 things: at least you tried, and second, it has not been a waste of time. Time is never wasted. Time is always, time and effort and drive that you put into things is never wasted. You're always learning something, even if at the end of the day you close the door and you say, that was not for me. At least you have learned what is not for you, and you've definitely learned something about how to move forward in the future. So if you are stuck in a rut at the moment and you feel like you want to make a change, but you're scared to do it because of you feel like you're a failure or you're worried about what other people might think, then just have a think about what I've spoken about today. Now, me eating meat and fish again after having a year of vegetarianism isn't really what I'm trying to get across here. I just wanted to give you another example from my life where I'm changing things again in relation to how I'm feeling, and trying to get away from these thoughts of you're a failure, because I know deep down that it's not true. So there's a wee story for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. And a couple of things about plant-based diets, vegan diets, and all of the media that's surrounding them. If you remember at the beginning of this episode, I chatted about that. And to be honest with you, the whole thing confuses me as well. You know, as a nutrition professional, the data really confuses me too. And I wanted to get out the correct information on this podcast for you so that you can determine what is real and what is not real when it comes to the media surrounding this. So I have a very special guest returning to the podcast in the next couple of weeks, who is much more well informed on this and will be having a very detailed and unbiased discussion about it. So look out for that episode. And probably one of the most important things that I have to tell you today, and that's if you're listening to the episode on the day that it goes out, Thursday the 12th of September, is that today the Ditch the Diet Academy has actually reopened for new members. So if you are not a member of the Ditch the Diet Academy yet, and you don't have a bloody clue what it is, let me just give you a brief rundown. The Ditch the Diet Academy is an online membership platform which houses all of the anti-diet, how to quit dieting yet still lose weight and maintain a healthy lifestyle courses that I have written. And we open doors for new members to join 3 times a year. And today we are now reopening for 30 new members. We have 30 spaces for new members to join in September. And then we are closing again until 2020. And I cannot actually believe that we are about to go into another decade. It's frightening how quickly time goes. So if you're interested in finding out more about the Ditch the Diet Academy and how we can help you to quit dieting and to lose weight without going on a diet, then there are lots of ways that you can get in touch. But the main way that you can get in touch with us today is to actually join and become a member. So all you have to do is go to ditchthedietacademy.com/join, and hopefully there are still spaces left for you to join by the time you listen to this. So go ahead and have a look there. But I'm going to just stop this brief episode here now and let you get on with your day. I hope it has been insightful. And as always, if you enjoy this episode and you know someone who might like to listen to it, please feel free to share it. I'll put all the links of everything that I've spoken about in the show notes, so you can scroll down on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're listening and have a wee read. And as always, I would love it if you could leave me a little 5-star review on Apple Podcasts if that's where you're listening. Scroll down, hit the little 5-star button, and I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening and continuing to listen, and I'll be back next Thursday with a brand new episode of the Ditch the Diet podcast.